Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in the last video we have learned unit 1 and unit 2 of the legend behind a legend, and in this video we are going to learn unit 3, 4 and 5. Now let's get started. Unit 3 warm up. Mr. Chaudhary had many interesting stories to tell about Khairi and the other pets at his home. Read the following unit of the text for the details. The text. Here is the first story that emerged from this very unusual man between sips of coffee. As you will see, I have different species of wild animals in the house. They all came in at different stages in their life. I have debunked the theory that they cannot coexist unless they are together from infancy. One thing I wanted to experiment with was the reaction of a young tiger to a snake. One day when Khairi was much younger, we found a baby crate in the house. As you know, crate is one of the most poisonous snakes. I was noting Khairi's reaction to its presence. Khairi was curious to know more about this strange new creature. Every time the crate got too close to Khairi, I would pull it back by its tail. This went on for some time. At some point, I must have been a little unmindful. It turned round and bit me. I immediately tied a tourniquet above that and got the poison out. I saw the doctor as soon as possible. Luckily, it was a baby. Still, some of the poison got into my bloodstream, and as a result, I am now a permanent patient of hypoglycemia. So, here in the first paragraph, so the first story that is said by Mr. Chaudhary between the sips of the coffee, he said that there are different species of wild animals in his house. They all came in at different stages of their lives. So Mr. Chaudhary have debunked means argued against the theory that unless they are together from infancy means from childhood, they cannot coexist. One thing he wanted to experiment with was the reaction of a young tiger to a snake. So he said that one day when Khairi was much younger, they found a baby crate in the house. Crate is one of the most poisonous snakes. Mr. Chaudhary was experimenting and noting Khairi's reaction to its presence. So Khairi was very curious to know more about this strange creature. Whenever the crate got close to Khairi, Mr. Chaudhary would pull it back by its tail. This continues for some time. Then at a point he was a bit unmindful. Then the crate turned round and bit him. He immediately tied a piece of cloth tightly above that and got the poison out. Then he saw the doctor as soon as possible. Luckily it was a baby crate, but still some of the poison uh, got into its bloodstream, and as a result Mr. Chaudhary became a permanent patient of hypoglycemia. Here, hypoglycemia, it is a condition in which your glucose or blood sugar level is lower than normal. Then, by the time he finished this astonishing story, Jumbo took a fancy to me and climbed behind me to give me his bear hug. A stern no from Saroj was enough to dissuade him from this expression of fondness. As the day progressed, between our conversation, the intermittent crackle of on the VHF wireless set by which he was giving instructions to his men in the forest, I got to know a veritable giant family that was living inside the compound. A mongoose, a pangolin, wild cat twins, a country dog, and a blind hyena. Each had a name. So when Mr. Chaudhary finished this astonishing story, Jumbo looked at the narrator and he started liking him, and he climbed behind to give the narrator a bear hug. A starred no. Starred no means a strong no from Saroj was enough for him to dissuade, means not to do next him from this expression of fondness. As the day progressed between their conversations, the intermittent crackle means sharp sounds made in each intervals, on the VHF, very high frequency, set by which he was giving instructions to his men in the forest. The narrator got to know a veritable giant family that was living inside the compound, and the creatures like a mongoose, a pangolin, a wild cat twins, a country dog, and a blind hyena were there, and each one of them had a name. Unit 4 Warm Up. How did Saroja Chaudhary come across Khairi? How does he recount the story of his first meeting with Khairi as a cub? Read the following unit of the text for the details. The text. Khairi's story started on October 5, 1974, when 12 Kharia tribals of Simlipal brought a 2-month old tiger cub to Saroja Chaudhary, an officer of the Indian Forest Service. Saroj noticed that it was a female, famished and confused. His first experience of what was to become his passion in life was angry snarls and scratching claws. But the veteran forester and instinctive lover of wildlife knew how to handle a hungry, angry cub. He imitated the sounds of our mother tigress. Within minutes, her confidence was firmly anchored in the fostering human. Is he how recalled those first few minutes between the legends? So, Khairi's story started on October 5, 1974, when 12 Kharia tribals of Simlipal forest brought a 2-month old tiger cub to Saroja Chaudhary. He was an officer of the Indian Forest Service. When the cub was brought to him, Saroj noticed that it was a female cub and the cub was famished. Famished means very hungry and was confused. And when Khairi was famished, she was shouting loudly because her mother was not there with her. The first experience when he adopted Khairi, he thought she would be the most furious tigress. But the veteran forester and the instinctive lover of wildlife knew how to handle a hungry, angry cub. Then Mr. Chaudhary imitated means copied the sound of a mother tigress. Then within minutes her confidence grew. Early next morning, Saro started for his inspection of the tiger reserve area. I tagged along in the jeep that snagged through narrow road in the woods amidst lush foliage. My mother gave me a gun for my 8th birthday. As a young man, I shot wildlife with abandon. But soon I realized that there is a greater happiness in conserving these beautiful animals but do no wanton harm to man is one of the things he told me about his life during the long travel. So early next morning, Saro started his inspection of the tiger reserve area. So the narrator also went with him in the jeep, which snacked through the narrow road in the woods, which was surrounded by a lot of trees. Then Mrs. Chaudhary said that his mother gave him a gun for his 8th birthday. As a young as a young boy, he used to shoot wildlife with very carelessly. But soon he realized that there is very much happiness in conserving these beautiful creatures that do no wanton harm. Wanton harm means reckless harm to man. This is the one thing he told the narrator about his life while they both were traveling. At the time he was an authority of the tiger and director of project tiger in India. Saroj introduced the tiger tracing method of tiger census, where the paw marks of each animal is distinctive measurements and characteristics are meticulously recorded. At the time, Mr. Chaudhary was an authority on the tiger and director of Project Tiger in India. Then Saroj introduced the tiger tracing method of tiger census, where the paw marks of each animals with distinguished measurement and characteristics are meticulously means carefully recorded. For the night, we camped at a guest house deep in the jungle. It was a wooden structure with functional rooms and a bath. It was built on stilts and stood a good 15 feet above the ground. I experienced for the first time one night atop to a magnificent makan. For that night, they camped at a guest house deep in the jungle. It was a wooden structure with the functional rooms and a bath. So the room was built on steels, and it stood 15 feet above the ground. The narrator experienced for the first time one night on the top of a magnificent makan. Makan means a platform used originally for hunting animals. Unit 5, Warm Up. Did the writer meet Mr. Chaudhary for the second time? What new animals did he see there? How long did he stay with Mr. Chaudhary? Read the text below for the details. The text. I went to Khairi Jashipur again after 3 months, as I wanted to know more about Khairi. Saroj was gracious enough to welcome me once again. In addition to my old friends in that house, this time I found an 8-foot long addition, a young python. So again, after 3 months, the narrator went to Khairi Jashipur because he wanted to know more about Khairi. Saroj was gracious. Gracious means polite enough to welcome him once again. In addition to his old friends in that house, this time there was a new friend found, that is 8 foot long young python. With the next couple of hours, I continued my quest of the man and passion, but then there was a wireless message from the World Wildlife Fund. Saroj was asked to immediately catch a flight for an important meeting at New Delhi the next day. So there was a narrator's desire to know about Mr. Chaudhary and his passion. Quest means enthusiasm, to know something. But then there was a wireless message from the World Wildlife Fund, and Saroj was asked to immediately catch a flight for an important meeting at New Delhi. We drove to the Dum Dum airport, and I saw him off at Calcutta. That was the last time I met this legend behind a legend. In just over 3 months, Khairi died. Saroja Chaudhary did not live much longer. A unique tale of the tiger ended there. A salute is due at least now 25 years hence. So then they drove to Dum Dum airport, and then he left. That was the last time the narrator met this legend behind a legend, and in just over 3 months Khairi died, and so then Saroja Chaudhary also did not live much longer, and hence a unique tale of the tiger ended there. So this is all for today. Hope you all like this video. If you like, do like, share and subscribe.